Welcome, dear Power Mind. Today we're going to talk about the biggest probiotic mistake you can do. Actually, most people don't know this, but if you take probiotics in the wrong way, you actually don't get anything out of them. They just move through your body and you haven't actually improved your gut health. And as we all know, gut health is the key to having a really good immune system, is the key to have a good functioning, energetic body, and also a healthy brain. There's so many links to the gut health, actually, for overall health and also fighting off viruses, that an optimal gut health is like the number one goal of health. Actually, this is no matter what age, it's at any age. I struggled with this myself a lot of years. I had in the early 2000s had all of a sudden an overprescription of broadband antibiotics. And at that time, nobody told me, including my GP, no, he didn't tell me at that time that actually antibiotics destroy the whole of the gut flora, so also the good bacteria. And I didn't have recommendation to take probiotics after taking antibiotics. So due to that, actually to a series of I think it was too high doses as well, over prescriptions of antibiotics. I then suffered candida overgrowth, which means that the gut, bacteria are completely out of equilibrium, out of balance. And that meant for me that I suffered for years without reason, actually, bloating. I felt unwell after eating certain foods. I couldn't digest certain foods anymore. And also, I became very, very prone to viruses. My immune system didn't work as it worked before. And this suffering was completely unnecessary. Now I found out many, many years later. And what I'm going to present to you today is based on, oh my God, so many years of, first of all, in the early 2000s, it was trial and error because, as you know, there was not so much information available, and many GPs, many medical staff were not trained at all for how to rebalance your gut flora after, for example, taking antibiotics or other medicine. So I also then started, of course, through my suffering, I started to use my skills as a researcher to dig into that issue. And now, after years of research into that, I can present you like the top 3 foods I take to avoid doing that mistake and just taking probiotics without having any effect. I will also actually upload on my website a dietary advice kind of thing, or like I just give you the example of what I eat in a day to have the optimal gut balance, gut bacteria balance. And if you want to receive that for free, please drop me a comment. The 10 first comments will receive that completely for free. And as always, welcome to the Mind Body Triad. This is where we help each other out on healthy living, on cutting through the noise of health advice, of sharing only the good stuff, and of course, above all, of sharing the latest research for healthy living above the age of 50. Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Alex. I'm a researcher, I'm a social psychologist, and above all, I'm an absolute passionate person about health and actually giving all that nutrition to the body that it needs to thrive and to be healthy and to have, above all the energy we need to live, through the day in such a way that we don't feel kind of limited by our body. So let's start. What is actually that big error that so many people don't know about? It is actually taking a probiotic supplement as such is very good. But then if you don't create the environment in your gut so that this probiotic supplement can actually work, it just goes through your body without any effect. So it basically means taking a probiotic without creating the soil that it needs, that these good bacteria can actually thrive. So how can you actually create that soil, that environment, that good bacteria can thrive? I actually came across this most recent research from the last 5 years. I will quote the references as always. You can find them in the description and also on my blog articles from two researchers, Dr. Lee from the United States and Dr. Ziedvogel, who is a very renowned researcher on what are the conditions in your gut that need to be met to have a functioning immune system to fight off really, really serious diseases like cancer. So what they found in their research is that there's one important microbe that you need to have present so that the gut bacteria can actually feed off that and populate your gut even after a serious disease or after like taking antibiotics. And so create that very important biofilm that is required to have your immune system in place in your gut. And this microbe is called Akkermansia. And Akkermansia you cannot take in a supplement. That's the important information. You need to basically have a diet and eat certain nutritious foods that will actually create an environment that this microbe grows. Once this microbe grows, it will then fight off the bad bacteria, and also it will nourish those good bacteria that come from your probiotic supplement. So here are the three things actually. I mean, there's a long list. I will present you in my blog article and also on the one-pager that I will upload. I will present you with a long list of these Akkermansia feeding foods, but my top three ones that really work for me, and I can say now I'm 51 and I have so much improved my health by doing these things, these small changes, so that actually taking probiotics works now for me because I have a really good, stable immune system now. I can tell the difference because I went from zero after that episode I told you about, having to take, unfortunately, lots of antibiotics and then finding myself with a completely unbalanced gut and having infections every second week. So I can tell the difference. I feel healthier now in my 50s than I felt in my 20s. Unfortunately, it's like that, but also thanks God, I found a way to heal it. Okay, number one, that we can do actually to eat, to grow that Akkermansia is to eat resistant starches. What are resistant starches? These are actually starches that actually are resistant to the acidity of your stomach, so they can actually reach your gut. And that is what Akkermansia, this microbe, needs to actually nourish, flourish, and create that environment that then the probiotics can feed off from. So what are resistant starches? For example, the one that I love to do to eat resistant starches is to boil sweet potatoes. And sweet potatoes are great because they have also lots of polyphenols. They are such a superfood, so healthy. To boil it, let it sit for a while, and in that process of cooling down and sitting for a while, I'm talking about 2 to 3 hours. So ideally cooking them in the morning, letting them sit, and then consuming them in early afternoon or like for an evening dinner, and eating them cold. So you can add them to a salad, for example. You can just eat them cold. They're lovely. You just add a little bit of olive oil and your favorite spices or herbs. And this actually creates a perfect resistant starch that Akkermansia needs in your colon to grow. And once that is done, the whole process takes its path, and that's the perfect condition for a healthy gut. That's number one. And the second one I love out of the whole range of polyphenols you can eat. Polyphenols you can actually memorize. There's a trick to memorize which foods are good in polyphenols. These are these colorful foods that are mostly the purple ones, like, for example, red cabbage or, dark berries. But I love pomegranate. Pomegranate is my favorite juice. I eat it either as a fruit, the pomegranate seeds, or like the juice. And that also has these important polyphenols in it that actually create an environment that feeds Akkermansia. And once Akkermansia is present, you have the ideal environment. And if you then take a probiotic, that is perfect. So that's number two. And then also dark berries. For me, blackberries is just my go-to food for feeding Akkermansia. Also, one of you dear Power Minds, one of you dear readers responded to me on Medium, where I write my blog, and said, how about green banana? And yeah, green, like almost unripe banana is also a very good one to feed Akkermansia. There is, however, and I will probably cover that in my next video on healthy living. There is, however, not every prebiotic foods. You probably know that distinction between prebiotic and probiotic. Not every prebiotic, classically known as prebiotic food, is an Akkermansia feeder. So we need to do a distinction here. But most of them fall into that category. And now, as a bonus, what actually I realized so much, and this is the biggest health benefit for me at the moment, once you have established, and this is a change that I noticed over the course of 6 months, it takes a while, so be patient with yourself. Once you have actually fed Akkermansia and this bacteria is present again in your body, there has been research that has shown that this bacteria has an attribute to its shell that sends signals to the brain once you are full. So it's a natural kind of regulator of how much you eat, which is perfect. And also it regulates your blood sugar. It's kind of a stabilizer. And I realize that now. I naturally, since I feel my gut my gut health now has come up and I'm stabilized, kind of I don't have any cravings for food anymore. I also feel that if I had a small quantity, like when I was a child, I remember that feeling still from way back. I feel once I'm full. After small quantity, I'm full and I don't need to eat anymore. Whereas when my gut health was completely destroyed after the antibiotics, I felt so much just the need of, or the urge of eating the whole time, which was crazy. Also, I was craving sugar. And of course, why was I craving sugar? Because I had candida overgrowth, and that's a fungus. And once that fungus grows in your gut, it will feed off sugar. So you start craving sugar, you take on weight, you feel unhealthy. And then you know the story. There's a downward spiral, and you will just generally feel bad. So actually, Akkermansia is such a helpful microbe. You need to have it in your gut because it helps you cure your body. It helps you fight off viruses, bacteria, because it stabilizes your whole gut flora for your immune system. It helps the brain when you're full. It kind of makes you feel, after eating, there's a whole different feeling again. And I'm so happy that I can share this with you because, years and years and years I tried around. I took already probiotics, but I didn't know that I have to feed that microbe that actually creates the soil for the other microbes to flourish. So I want to hear your comments. What is your experience with taking probiotics? Maybe some of you also suffered, like me, from antibiotics over prescription. Maybe some of you also had that experience of having complete loss of balance in their gut flora. Bloating. What do you do about it? What do you eat? And those of you who want to receive my one-pager for the perfect day of eating, let me know, drop me a comment. I will send that to you for free.